Bijan Robinson has gotten a lot of attention, a lot of focus, a lot of hype when it comes to the running back position, this year's NFL draft, and buzz about where exactly he's going to land within round one. And I understand it. I get it. Because even though he's not my running back one in this year's draft class, he's still a very highly ranked running back prospect for me. Still a fairly highly ranked prospect overall. There are a lot of things I do like about his game. I just happen to like another running back that I think is more dynamic in this year's draft class. And what's interesting to me about Robinson, there's been so much attention and focus put on him that I don't think there's been nearly enough attention put on another running back that I'd be surprised if he doesn't end up getting drafted in round one. And I certainly would feel that he should get drafted in round one, and that's Jahmyr Gibbs from Alabama. Because when I think about dynamic and when I think about explosive and I think about a guy that can impact the game in a variety of different ways, it's Gibbs, even more so than it is Robinson in this year's draft class. And I'm really surprised that he hasn't gotten more attention, more buzz, and more hype. But it is what it is, right? But this guy, Jahmyr Gibbs, this is my running back one in this year's draft class. And let me explain to you why. He's got explosiveness, quickness, and burst that just shows in all aspects of his games. He's able to hit the hole quickly. It shows as a route runner. It shows as a pass catcher. Like, that explosiveness, that burst, that quickness is there. It's in abundance. He's also got big-time speed that makes him a home run threat, both as a runner, running from the line of scrimmage, and also as a pass catcher in the open field. And for a running back, talking about those skills as a pass catcher, he's got an expansive route tree. Certainly more advanced than Robinson and most of the other running backs in this year's draft class. He's got really nice, soft hands as a pass catcher. Like, he's got a natural feel for ball handling. And I just realized now, like, when you go through and talk about these players, just how many sick, fucking twisted comments you can make that are meant to say one thing, such as, he's got nice ball handling skills that could come across an entirely different way. You sick freaks! But a natural pass catcher, what I mean is he attacks the ball with his hands. He doesn't allow it to get into his body. You can just tell he has a feel for it. As a runner, he's got really nice vision. He's able to anticipate where the running lane is going to develop. He's also able to plant on one leg and make explosive cuts. So this is a guy that has quick start-stop in his game, stop-start in his game. This is a guy that can shift and change direction very quickly. His jump cuts as well are sudden and effective. Not only are they quick, but they're explosive in terms of how much he can cut. But he's also got some variance. He can make subtle jump cuts. He can make very big jump cuts, and not every guy is able to do that. Also, when you talk about running backs that played on a big stage like Gibbs, you worry about the mileage on their body. And similar to Bijan Robinson, doesn't have a lot of wear and tear in his body, not a lot of mileage. In Gibbs' case, even less. He has less than 500 career touches at Alabama. That's really, really low mileage for a guy when you're thinking about, how much are you going to be able to get out of him at the NFL level. He also shows patience, and he's willing to wait for the blocking to develop in front of him. Sometimes with really quick and fast running backs, they know they've got quickness and speed. And what they sacrifice sometimes with that God-given athletic ability is patience and feel and instincts, because they just want to go, or they just want to kick everything outside, and they always try to make the big play happen. Gibbs doesn't do that. He shows the patience to be willing to wait, allow his blockers to set up in front of him. He's also, in terms of the passing game, we talk about needing him to not always just be a pass catcher. He's got good awareness and feel and instincts, I believe, for his responsibilities as a pass protector. He's not a huge back, so he's not going to overpower blitzers or edge rushers, but he could have a feel for where he's going to go, and he could be a slight impediment, and that's at least a positive if anything else. So a lot to really like about his game in terms of a well-rounded running back. A couple of key weaknesses to call out with Gibbs, though. He's not the biggest at his position. So that's certainly, I think, going to create some questions about his three-down ability. If Gibbs was 6 foot, 215 pounds, and doing these exact same things, he would be running back one over Bijan Robinson, and it's not even going to be that close. It's not. but he doesn't have that type of size. So teams are going to be concerned about whether he fits the prototype, whether he's truly a 3-down running back. And while he does run hard, and that's what I like about him, and that's where you see a lot of the Alvin Kamara comparisons come in, which I think are totally off the mark. Now, you could go back and watch the history of me, or not the history of me, but you can go back a few years, probably find my scouting report of Alvin Kamara on this channel, where I talked about, his power, like his ability to break tackles. I think it was the Vanderbilt game. Like there were 1 or 2 runs I called out in particular that were just incredible in terms of his second effort, in terms of his ability to carry tackles, not just break them, but also carry them, carry tacklers, carry defenders into the end zone. I get where people are trying to go with this Kamara comparison, but I don't think it's a perfect fit. I really don't, because Gibbs is more explosive than Kamara ever was. Both in terms of short area quickness and burst, and especially with long speed. And Kamara, he played quicker and faster than what he timed back at the combine, but Gibbs is different in terms of that respect. But Gibbs does not have that same type of physicality or run power that Kamara did coming out of college. Now, to my point, Gibbs runs hard, but he's not going to power through a ton of tackles, especially from defensive linemen. He could be a little more effective running through arm tackles in the open field, but between the tackles, getting off of defensive linemen, I don't know about that. He does have trouble also anchoring as a pass protector. He can get pushed back into the quarterback. That kind of comes into that size that he has at the position being less than ideal. And sometimes as a runner, I will call out, and again, this is a challenge you have with those shifty, elusive, quick, fast backs, is they can be a little too dependent on making cuts versus just hitting the hole hard. Like sometimes you just got to hit the hole and bypass the small chance of making a big play happen and just get the 2, 3, 4 yards, get positive yards, and he's got to get a little bit better there. When I look at him, like this to me is a special back. He reminded me quite a bit of Christian McCaffrey. He's a little bit quicker and faster than McCaffrey, but when you think about McCaffrey coming out of Stanford, he was quicker and faster than he was given credit for. Imagine that white guy syndrome, right? Oh, he's sneaky quick, sneaky fast. No, you know what the fuck you're saying. Just say it. Come on. But this was a guy that could impact the game in multiple ways. He wasn't a true powerhouse as a runner between the tackles, but he could certainly be effective. But he had that make you miss ability. He was extremely advanced in terms of as a receiver and as a pass catcher, and you could deploy him all over the place. And you saw it with Alabama, especially in 2022. Sometimes their passing game with the receivers they had lost would struggle a little bit. And it felt like whenever they needed a big play, whenever they needed to make something happen, it would be they would hand the ball off to Jahmyr Gibbs, or Bryce Young would be looking for Jahmyr Gibbs to break something in the passing game. And that's the type of stuff that sticks to me. Like, he was their go-to guy to me in 2022 in their offense. I really felt like he was. He was the difference maker. He was the guy that could break things open for them. He was the guy that could change momentum for them. And when I look at the modern NFL game and the importance, especially on the passing game, this to me is where the big difference comes between him and Bijan Robinson. Bijan Robinson runs with more physicality between the tackles, so he's going to break more tackles in that way. And that's not to dismiss that as being an insignificant or unimportant thing. It certainly is. But when I think about how much teams pass now and their relative skills at being pass catchers and route runners, Gibbs is just ahead of Bijan Robinson by a good bit, in my opinion. And that's why he is my running back 1 in this draft. Now, where does that mean you take him? You start looking at teams like maybe Tampa at 19, the Chargers in the early 20s, Baltimore, Buffalo. Like, somebody's got to be able to figure out, this guy's going to come in and he's going to make a big impact for you day one. And I certainly expect that he would. But I do think both Gibbs and Robinson are certainly worthy of first-round picks this year. Contrary to that narrative of never taking a running back in round 1. Like I said, I understand that sentiment, but sometimes the narratives can be flawed, and they don't always end up being all-inclusive. And in this case, you should buck that trend and be thinking about taking Jahmyr Gibbs in round 1, because he is a dynamic, special talent out of the backfield. especially you get him into space and especially in the passing game.